Greetings everyone, Archimedes here, and welcome back to another brick-filled LEGO video. Today, we're going to be kicking off our latest mini-series on base building with a tutorial on how to improve our fortress wall design. I will demonstrate some concepts for 3 different styles of model. A classic castle design, a modern castle design, so more walls, more fortressy fort kind of thing that you'd play around in and blow stuff up with, and an explorational base. Here is a basic castle wall. Just a flat gray expanse with a little lip at the top and a place for some archers to stand. It's pretty basic, just a flat gray expanse, and it really doesn't look that great, at least in my personal opinion. Also, I don't have that many gray bricks in my collection, and so I would find it very hard to build a castle with this. And so, let's, by comparison, take a look at this. As you can see here, we have a slightly more complicated design, with a lot more colors, and a lot more shapes, and a lot more texture. I don't know about you, but at least in my case, I like this wall so much better. There's a lot more detail and color and texture and life to it. So, let's take a look at some of the tips and tricks that we used to make it stand out and be more special looking. The first thing that you noticed is the color. As you can see, I used both light gray and dark gray pieces. I think this adds a much more cobbled and aged texture to the wall. Also, it makes it a little easier to build because you have more pieces in general. You're not just sticking to this plain gray brick. Second of all, as you can see, we've added some graded bricks. For example, these with the grooves in them, or the slightly more tubular ones here. And these also add another more depth to the wall. Finally, you can also see that there's this abutment, so to speak, up in front. I'll turn it to the side so you can see. It expands out in front, gives the wall a lot more depth, and it also makes it look a little sturdier. The great thing about adding these details, though, is that they make your castle walls look much nicer looking, much deeper, and they also are based off of some very simple pieces. You could use these tube pieces like these in various different colors. You could use these grooved pieces like these. Of course, you could use the graded pieces, both sides. You could use these castle brick pieces that LEGO is now coming out with, as well as the tube pieces. And you could also add on these pieces, the 1x2s or 1x4s or 1x6s, whatever, with a hole. Thing is, you don't have to use that many to add depth to your castle walls. You could just throw in a few here and there, and it would break up the solid gray, or whatever color you're making the wall out of, and just adds a little more detail. A great way to add the abutment to the wall would be to use pieces like these, 1x2 or 2x2 by 3 blocks tall angle slopes. You could stack them up and fit them against the wall, and it adds a lot more detail. You could also do this design more simply just by using a stack of bricks like this. Now, let's move on to a more modern fortress design. I'm sure that almost all of us have built a fortress wall like this. We picked up a bunch of 2x4s, jammed them together to make a wall, maybe circling around a base plate or something like that. And that's fine. I've built many fortresses like this, and I think they look really awesome. But the scattered colors in the wall are often quite distracting to a viewer, and sometimes I think it kind of can detract from the coolness of the model. So, for today, we're going to take a quick look at just a few tips that can help to improve our modern fortress wall designs. I'm sure some of you are saying about right now, Arcee, I know that it would look better if we just built our castle wall out of one color, but I don't have those pieces. Well, I agree with you. I don't have enough bricks to make a single color castle wall. But what if we organize the bricks in a different way? For example, what if we exchange this castle wall for this one? This design here uses the same exact pieces that I used for the other wall design. The only thing that was done different between the two walls is I exchanged the random pattern of these pieces for a more set pattern like this. Incidentally, I used the same number and of the same color of pieces to make this wall. Using this very simple trick of making patterns out of your basic bricks in your walls, you can add a little more depth or character to your castle to help it to portray maybe what kind of characters live within it. Heroes might have a bold and striking wall, while a villain might have a black, hazardous looking wall. The other thing that I did is, like the castle wall, I added a few abutments. As you can see, I just used a stack of bricks to add these abutments to the wall, to add a little bit something sticking out. I think it adds a little more detail, and I think it makes it look a little sturdier. This is also very simple to do. All you have to do is stack a couple 1x2s or 1x4s and add them to the outside of the wall, and suddenly your wall has a lot more depth. Now, let's talk about the third type of base design, an explorational base. Unlike the castle or modern fortress, the explorational base is designed to fight the elements. Perhaps it sits in the deep seas, or in the Arctic wastes, or on the floor of a hostile planet. Because of this, robust walls usually really don't make sense for an explorational base. They're usually a lot more low to the ground, or a lot more solid and strong looking, but they don't really reach into the sky that much. Perhaps that's just my opinion on the matter, but regardless, let's go with that for our tips. Now, the first thing that your explorational base is going to want or need for in its walls is some windows or portholes of some sort. Unfortunately, windows like these with shutters and doors just, I don't know, don't fit the picture of an extreme climate. So, my favorite way to make windows like this is to use these transparent Lego bricks. You can stack them together and wedge them between the pieces in your wall, and voila, you have a window. They look very thick and powerful, like they could suffer a great and hard beating, but they have a certain elegance to them, and I think they kind of fit in well with the models. If you don't have a lot of transparent bricks, though, you can also just leave the window spaces empty, and just make a hole with your normal bricks. Seeing the thickness of the wall adds a certain amount of power to the base, at least in my humble opinion. The other tip I'd like to offer today for this sort of base design is to add a whole bunch of angles. As you know, the triangle is the strongest shape. So, you would figure that these bases built on windswept planets or icy plains, that triangular shapes in the base design might make them look stronger. A very simple way of doing this is just simply to stack bricks up in an angle like this, outside of the wall of your base. Similar to the abutments on the castle walls, these also add a lot of strength to them. You can do them simply with this brick built design, which I think looks fine. Or if you want, you could use angles in their stead. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. And, as always, I should add the disclaimer. I know that some of these concepts may not fit for what you're building or how you build, but nonetheless, I hope that they've inspired you to do something different with your buildings, with your castle wall designs. Just a reminder, this month, March, there will be a 5th Sunday, And this means that on that 5th Sunday, our video will be a different video. It'll be a little different from our usual base design tutorial or my own creation spotlights. I'll be answering some viewer questions or suggestions, so you have some? Please comment me. I would be happy to hear them and try to make them happen. If you like this video, please comment, rate, or subscribe. If you didn't like this video, well, I'd still like to hear why you didn't like it. I would like to hear what you think would make the channel better. I hope you liked this video. I hope that it was interesting or informative, or at least that it entertained you for a minute. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Arcimedes36, and I'll see you next Sunday.